Some countries have either an absolute advantage or a comparative advantage in producing certain types of food. So clearly in the UK we don't produce pineapples very efficiently compared with other countries of the world, but we do produce a number of livestock products very efficiently, and sheep and lamb production is one of those commodities. We're pretty good at milk production, for example. So we have some natural advantages because of our geographic location. We have very good grassland in the west of the country and so on.
The UK generally has larger farms, and we've seen a gradual amalgamation of farms to exploit economies of scale over time. So the average size now is probably, and it depends how you measure it, but in the region of 80 or so hectares. But there's many farms that extend beyond 1,000 hectares, with the key business, if you like, taking on other tenanted farms in the area, to try and exploit economies of scale, to try and spread those fixed costs.
I think what we're seeing in the UK is you're seeing a different system. Again, you're seeing the small family farmers are becoming increasingly isolated, and the profitability has declined dramatically. Part of this has to do with the CAP, the Common Agricultural Policy, which for a long time didn't recognize. Essentially, the subsidy, if you had 10 hectares of land, was say €1,000 a year. If you had 1,000 hectares of land, you'd be making 100,000 a year. So there's great disparities between small farmers and the wealthy farmers in terms of these subsidies. Now that's being changed and that's being modified, but historically that's been the case. So what we're seeing is, despite these subsidies, many small farmers are going out of business, particularly in the dairy sector. But yet, this hasn't necessarily impacted, for example, in the dairy industry, milk production, because we're seeing a rise in the productive capacity of each animal. And we're also seeing larger farm sizes as these smaller farms get bought up. And of course, as I mentioned, it's the super farms is what people are looking at toward the future to feed populations. Production hasn't necessarily been impacted by this loss of farms. Ultimately, there is a point where it will do.
Wonderful moments of theatre, none more than Gordon Lockyer all those years ago, one of the earlier winners.
I think in the UK we're incredibly lucky in that we have great infrastructure, and in terms of the networks both of inputs and outputs, we have a fantastic setup to get product anywhere in the country at 12-24 hours notice. So I think we're very lucky in that, on that side of things. I guess some of the difficulties is we still import a huge amount of food, and 40% is still imported into the UK, and that's a concern going forward in terms of sustainability, and we need to, particularly with a growing population in the UK, to increase the volume of production that we produce.
I think the main problem in the UK is not one of poverty or issues of finances. I think it is one of lifestyle and education. I feel that in the UK, too much of the population is in a throwaway society where they are just nipping into the supermarket, getting a ready meal off the shelf, which is incredibly bad for you. They don't know about cooking good food and the provenance of their food, where the fresh fruit and veg is available and can be easily prepared. It all seems to be about, you know, getting the meal down you as quickly as you can so you can get on to the next thing. And I think that's ultimately a lifestyle issue of spending more time enjoying our food and having that as part of our culture, rather than actually it just being an inconvenience in your daily schedule. Certainly in the most urban areas of the UK, everything comes in a cellophane wrapper. They don't know or necessarily think about what happened to that food to get to that position. And that's something that we as a country and as a sort of farming community need to help change.